So I'll call the meeting to order at 6:02. And may we have the final action reported out?
Certainly. So the board approved a classified leave of absence request by a vote of 5-0 in our closed session. No other action was taken.
Great, thank you. And approval of the agenda. Is there anything to pull? Or,
There is not.
okay.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
In a second? Jerry Mattson? All in favor?
Yes.
Any objections? So moved. And public comment on non-agenda items. So this is an opportunity for the public. They will have 3 minutes, and we ask that you please state your name clearly when you address the board. The timer will be set for 3 minutes. If you have not completed your comment, when the timer rings, I will inform you that your time is up. When you may then leave any written document you have with the executive assistant for the board's information. So we have staff here this evening, and I don't think they have any public comment, but you're welcome to go to the podium and state your name. Otherwise, we do still offer the virtual members to use the board meeting at fbusd.us. So if you'd like to submit a public comment, please email. Staff will make all attempts to share and record any submissions receiving prior to or during the meeting. However, depending on late timing, late submissions may be provided to the board after the conclusion of the meeting. So do we have any virtual
There is no
comments?
public comment.
Okay, so no public comment on non-agenda items. So the next item is patriotic exercise by Vice President Makala.
Okay, well, today marks the beginning of the Hispanic Heritage Month. And I didn't realize, I should have, that actually Independence Day for Mexico is tomorrow. And many of the countries, I think most of the countries in South America and Central America, over a 20-year period, all gained their independence from Spain during this time period. And so we have a video, because you know I like to play music, so I've got a song about this.
There we go. Sorry. This is always my favorite part.
And I do appreciate it because I was late, so thank you.
And it's
And if the sound doesn't come on, I could sing along, or you can read.
It goes pretty fast. I'm just trying to make sure we have. Any ideas, tech guys?
Is the sound on your computer?
I'm looking. It is, readjusting. There we go. Okay. Third time's the charm.
Mhm.
you. And
Okay.
that's actually the easiest way to learn Spanish is through music.
Yep.
I took 3 years of high school, and in college, we just sang. So it really does come quickly when you're having fun. So thanks for sharing. So our next items on the agenda are acknowledgements. So Superintendent Aldridge.
All right, so as we said, it's the start of National Hispanic Heritage Month. We also have National School Success Month. I think it's also unofficially Positive Attendance Month or something like that. There's all the good pieces there going. We have had International Literacy Day, and Patriot Day, and the Constitution and Citizenship Day is coming up this weekend. So, Citizenship Day would be a great time to go out and do the coastal cleanup. Happens on Saturday, as long as the weather holds out. So.
And then we have 5.2 donations.
So we had some wonderful donations. I do want to issue a special thank you to the Winos Motorcycle Club, who raised a total of $3,200 to support the arts and music programs. They had their donation as well as the other two $200 donations were through their work to support our art and music programs at the middle and high school. So we'll have that money coming your way if you have any needs in those areas. So.
Thank you.
And also thank you to Matson Building Supplies for supporting our volleyball team. So.
Thank you, Jerry. So our next item on the agenda are communications. So does anyone have any communications to share?
I would assume it's the same that the whole board is getting regarding the,
Yes, so we've been receiving school name change requests by a community member. And we also, there was a CSBA advocacy alert to request that board members veto the bill that could endanger the universal meals program. And then everyone received a letter regarding the meet and greet for this Friday at Casper. So if you wanted to meet some of your local officials, that would be a place that you could meet them from 5 to 7 tomorrow night. And I also wanted to just communicate that our board filing for 3 open seats was expired on August 17th. And so with that deadline, 3 of us, our seats were up, Scott, myself, and Jerry, and we all refiled, and no one else filed. So there won't be an election for our board. So I just wanted to thank the community and the schools for supporting us through these last few years. It wasn't an easy decision to continue, but we still, in the middle of all of that, but we will be serving for another 4 years. And I wanted to thank Mary and Kathy for also being on the board and continuing your term. So the next item on the agenda is public comment for agenda items. So is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on agenda items? And you can speak now, or you can wait till the item is on the agenda.
There's no public comment via email for
Okay.
agenda items.
So you can later speak up at the time that it comes down on the agenda in person, or you can go ahead and email boardmeeting@fpusd.us. So at this point, we've got no public comment. And so the next item is reports. We have Student Rep Joe.
All right, thank you. I'll start with my report from Redwood Elementary. Tomorrow, the 16th, morning opening resumes for the first time since COVID, so that's super exciting. On the 30th, coffee with the principal will be at 9 a.m. On Tuesday, October 11th, is the Redwood Makeup Picture Day. And the Harvest Festival will be coming soon in October, so keep an eye out for that one. From Dana Gray, the first secret staff dress-up day was pajamas today, as per Miss Alexander's outfit. And there also was the first Golden Awards Assembly to introduce the Golden Book and Golden Broom. These awards will be given monthly by the librarian and head custodian to the cleanest classroom in class with the best library behavior. And the report says the 3rd graders attended the Math Ninja Assembly, introducing how they can earn their black belt in multiplication. And the Dana Gray Makeup Picture Day is October 4th. From the middle school, the first dance is tomorrow night. And the first progress report is ending at September 23rd. Volleyball games are scheduled throughout the season, so keep an eye out for those. The web leaders are mentoring 6th graders. FBMS also has a new grab and go cart for lunch service like there is at the high school. And the student council speeches and elections are scheduled for this week. And from the high school, the site council meeting is on the 20th of this month at 3:30 p.m. The Avid Family Night is also on the 20th, but from 7 to 8. College Night is on the 21st from 6 to 7. The end of the first grading period is also Friday the 23rd. Makeup pictures for the high school are on the 26th of September, not November. Parent Night is on the 29th from 5 to 6. And Homecoming Week starts October 3rd and ends on the 8th with the Homecoming Dance. And that is all of my report. Thank you.
Great. So do you still have student reps for each grade level at the high school?
I don't think enough people signed up for ASB to do that, honestly.
But-
we do? Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering if that's still a role that
It exists.
it exists. So I also wanted to thank you again for committing this year. And we do have information on how you can enhance your role as a student board member. So I'll pass this
Okay.
down to you because you do have the ability to look at the board packet, which is on the website. I don't know if you've ever scrolled through and look at action items and look at information and discussion. And you have the ability to stay through the meeting and give your opinion, your own opinion, because you're not a board. You can speak on your own, just like we can. And you can also, meet with these people the other students and other student groups if you think that they're interested in a topic that we're discussing. But you actually can vote before we do. It doesn't count on the final action, but then it gives you the ability to be engaged at this level. And you're welcome to commit to this. You can choose topics. Maybe you only do it once. We know that your academics come first and you have other hobbies. But we want to welcome you for the whole meeting if you can ever do that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll keep
And
that in
I want to do a little blurb here because it's right before superintendent report, but I failed to end communications. I don't have the article or the newspaper, but if you do get the Advocate or look online, there is a wonderful article about Joe Aldridge. So he was very, during board chat, he was able to let us know that it got published this week, and it really is a lovely article. So thank you for enduring the interview, and it was a great article. So without further ado, the superintendent report.
All right. So the first thing on our report is the construction projects update. Don did provide us with a report. He did update the budget and project information. I know there were a couple of areas where the project budget was attributed in the wrong way, so that's straightened out in that report, and so that is accurate. We do, right now the project is running well. It's scheduled to be completed in February. The only exception is still that power panel, and they're working out a solution to that. The building is exciting that the interior work should start by the end of the month. And so that means it'll be watertight and ready to roll in that regard. So it's starting to, we should go do a tour at some point just because it's actually, you can see the layout now and tell, this is an office, this is a classroom, these pieces like that.
Well,
That'd be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very happy to hear that. I did attend Redwood back to school night, and poor teachers that are on the south end of that, of the school can hardly wait for the hammering, and we were all asked to please come in and try to read with the kids during this time. So some teachers, it didn't bother them. At some, they can hardly wait for that, for them to get inside so that it's quiet.
Yes.
But yeah,
So-
thank you for enduring the distraction.
Gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully by the end of the month, the exterior work will be minimal, so.
And is the bond sales for Series B, is that on track and everything's good?
Well, okay, so I just realized that he hadn't updated that information. We actually swapped the 11 and the 12, so the 12 has been sold in 2022, because that was originally supposed to be phase 3.
Mhm.
So I mentioned that to him, so he'll be correcting that
So
for
they're already sold.
next time. It's already sold.
And
Yeah,
that
we
wasn't a
closed
problem.
July 28th. Nope,
Great.
we actually got, it was actually turned out to be just about perfect timing.
Excellent.
Any other questions?
Okay. Next, we have the Citizens Oversight Committee report. So I will let Wendy take that away.
So, scheduling the Citizens Oversight Committee meetings has been a challenge. We've been doing them virtually, and we're getting more on track with having them a little more regularly. This annual report is a requirement that they do. It basically indicates that they've done the oversight that they're required to do. They've looked at the audit, they've looked at the expenditure reports, and, you know, we've discussed them, and they've found that we are adhering to the requirements that they're supposed to be overseeing.
So I was just curious on how many people were able to attend and who signed the document.
Kate Erickson signed the document. She's the
Chairman?
chairman of the committee.
Okay.
And then there are 3 other people.
So were
That's,
they able to attend most of the meetings?
most of
or
the meetings,
two
yeah. I think
meetings?
the last one, Dave Turner was not able to attend that one, but 3 out of the 4 of them were
Oh,
able.
awesome.
Yeah.
Any questions?
And we're looking for more members if anybody is interested.
Okay.
We're going to try to schedule a walkthrough with them sometime in October as well, so they can see the progress.
Okay. Let us know. Yeah, very good. Next item is the unaudited actuals.
Okay, so this is, normally unaudited actuals are required to be approved by September 15th. The labor shortage is not, you know, that's not the first page.
I do.
Has struck not only other businesses, but also Mendocino County in general. And by county, I mean the actual county. Their office is in somewhat of a disarray personnel-wise, and therefore MCOE has not received all the information they need to close the books far enough to give us the final information we need to close our books. So they recommended that we, even though the numbers you have are, for all intents and purposes, pretty much where they're gonna be, there are little things that aren't finished. For instance, we don't have a final closed cash balance, which is not a problem because our cash situation is just fine. And there's some interest that hasn't been booked for the end of the year, and little things like that. We don't have our bond fund final information yet. So there's some little odds and ends that we're still waiting on, so they suggested that we do a preliminary report for you, and then you can approve it. We'll have the final full packet for you to approve on your special meeting on October 5th. So with that, we are actually in pretty reasonable shape. Are we actually on page 1 now? Okay. And what I chose to pull up here for the public and to go through with you is the estimated actuals to unaudited actuals. And every page is not full of numbers. There's only 2 pages that have some numbers, and I'll go through those quickly so we can get to the pictures. The estimated actuals are the most recent numbers that you approved during the budget. So they have, why is she laughing? Oh,
How do I pull it up for you? I'm sorry.
pull what up for me?
The screen, the slideshow, sorry. Do you want the slideshow up?
Yes? Unless you just want to change the page when I say.
No, I just can't see, I'm sorry.
Oh, 'cause it's so little.
Over about 2 and 3 inches.
Is it this one?
No.
No. I
No,
can't
go
see it.
file
I'm
or
sorry.
Slideshows.
slideshow.
Yeah,
No, I'm sorry, go back. Go slideshow.
She can't see
Over
it.
to the right.
sorry.
Up,
Right, so
straight
go
up.
straight up where your mouse is.
Yeah, it should be this one, right?
No.
No, over to the right a little bit. Stay on that line and go
I'm
over to
so
the right.
sorry.
Over,
Right
over. Next
One
one.
Oh,
more.
yeah, I see.
There you go,
There you go.
slideshow.
Ooh,
And
there it is.
then
I thought there was an easy button.
from beginning.
I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, so what this highlights is, at estimated actuals, we were still looking at the budget. And so now we're looking at what actually happened compared to that. We had adjusted the budget to be as close as we could to what we thought was gonna happen, but there are always things that we find and move and adjust around that end up being a little different from the unaudited actuals, even though it's basically the same time frame. So you can see that there's 300,000 more in revenue than what we had at the unaudited actuals, and some of that was true-ups from prior years and other revenues that we received that we sort of were expecting but didn't know how much they were or if we were going to actually receive them. The expenses were about $600,000 less. Most of that was from positions that we were unable to fill. And for budget purposes, we always carry them because we may fill them, and then we adjusted it at the end of the year when they didn't. You can see the transfers out were to bring the board reserve to 9%, and we are there. And so then the next page is the restricted general fund, and the changes there are due in large part for the revenues. Whenever revenue comes in that's restricted, if you don't use it, you pull it out of revenue and move it to basically a liability account, a deferred revenue account, and then you count it as revenue next year when you use it. So that was the biggest part of this, and the same thing with the expenditures changed a lot because of that, especially that ARP money. That's a big pocket of coronavirus relief money, the American Rescue Plan money. A lot of dollars that came in. We were showing it as revenue and budgeting expenditures, but the projects haven't happened yet, so they come out of the expenses and come out of the revenue also. So that's why both of those numbers changed as much as they did. And then the third page is really just a combination of the two restricted and unrestricted for our general fund. Then we get to the pictures. So you can see, and this comparison is from the original budget, because I always like to see where did we start, where did we end up, how far off were we. And in this case, again, there were a lot of revenues that came in that we didn't know if they were going to come in, so we didn't budget them. We moved a lot of money out of deferred revenue into current revenue, and so that was the increase in the 16% there. And then the expenditures increased almost the same amount because we used that deferred revenue for expenditures. So that was a little expected, partially not so much. The next slide is our ADA history, and this is a little bit confusing only because it looks like there's this huge drop-off. And the reason for that is because in 2021, we were not required to report our ADA. So it's kind of a gap year. We kept the same ADA. We don't really know what our ADA was, so it stayed flat. If we had actually taken ADA, it would have been probably very close to, if not below 21, 22 a little bit, because our numbers were way down. So moving forward, we'll always have that little blip there, but we'll have to remember why that was. I'll make sure and put it in notes somewhere so that in 10 years somebody will remember why. The next slide is salaries and benefits as a percentage of total revenue. And again, the last few years have been an anomaly. And the reason for that, again, is we have had a lot of one-time revenue come in. The coronavirus relief funds were huge. And that meant that even though our salaries and benefits have increased quite a bit each of those years, the percentage of revenues is lower. If we take those, just the coronavirus relief money out and not even other sources, one-time sources, it brings the percentage for 21-22 closer to 76%. So it does make a difference when you're looking at what's going on, but I felt I would go ahead and present it so that you could see that. And the same thing with last year, it says 68% or 63%. Again, that was closer to 72% if you took those dollars out. So then the next graph is a history of our general fund balance. So the orange is the total fund balance. Does it look orange up there? Not really. It looks more like mustard. Yes. Okay. The turquoise blue is the unassigned balance. The purple, it does look purple, is the assigned or designated balance, and then the reddish one, or I guess it's sort of, I don't know what I'd call that color, is the restricted balance. So it's kind of interesting where those are going, and our restricted balance is going to continue now. You saw that big spike in 1920, and that'll start to drop off as we spend those dollars out. The unrestricted number is going up, and the assigned and designated are still going up because we're using the coronavirus relief money instead of some of the other monies and squirreling those away so that when this goes away, we have enough money to continue those programs. So while our balance looks nice and healthy, it just means that we're going to be able to continue some of these once we decide which of these programs we started are worthwhile and actually getting results, then we'll be able to continue those. And that will be with ongoing money, so if it does involve people, we will have the funds to continue those, because, you know, my thing about one-time money, you don't spend it on anything that eats, but in this case, we have made a bit of an exception, so hopefully we'll be able to maintain that if it's worthwhile. And then the last slide I put in here is a history of our general fund revenues, expenditures, and fund balance. So again, this is over a 20-year period where our general fund revenues and expenditures and fund balance have gone. And you can see, you know, pretty little wavy and flat through 18, 19, and then the pandemic hit and the state found all this money for us, and the feds. So our revenues and expenditures are all going up. That's probably going to start, you know, leveling off, and I would love to see it level off, but I think it'll drop a little bit and then hopefully level off. The economic forecasts are all over the map, so we're just hoping to be able to maintain some of the things that have been initiated. So, other than that, like I said, we do have a healthy fund balance going into next year. We have certainly, we're not at all concerned about the 3 years out right now. We are spending down the unrestricted, undesignated fund balance, and the county will certainly comment on that to you, but that's one of the reasons we have the reserves we have, so that if the sky does fall, we have enough money to kind of land softly rather than fall off the cliff. So in a nutshell, that's where we are. All our other funds are doing nicely. There was no contribution to cafeteria again this year because the Universal Meal Program refunds better than we had had in the past. And plus there was another little federal chunk that they donated to the cafeteria funds that helped offset that. So we are looking at probably at least another couple of years of not having to contribute anything to nutrition services, which is nice. And there aren't any other places where we're contributing. We make the contribution to our routine restricted maintenance account, and that's a required contribution that we make. The others, large ones, are to our special ed program is really the biggest contribution from the unrestricted side to the restricted side.
Okay.
But we haven't had to make any transfers out to other funds this year.
This year.
This
21,
past year,
20,
sorry.
Yeah, not this, yeah.
I've got
21,
feet in both
22.
years, so it's,
I'm like, well, that's
Last
only
year.
been, it's only September.
yeah, we didn't need to make any last year.
Okay,
So.
gotcha. Any questions?
Do you see any areas of concern coming up in regards to the budget?
Only the economy.
Right.
If the economy maintains itself, inflation is still a bit of an issue. I'm a little concerned about some of our utility costs. It's hard to tell. They jumped significantly this year from last year, but last year we were closed. I'm sorry, 2 years ago we were closed. Last year we were open again for the full year. So it's a little hard to know how much that to attribute to cost and how much to attribute to usage. So I'm going to be watching that very closely the first part of this year to see where it's trending, but I'm a little worried about it. But on the other hand, there have been other areas where we've actually had flat or reduced costs because of the usage not happening for a couple of years. So for instance, our vision insurance actually went down. Our dental insurance has stayed the same, and our health insurance stayed the same for this year. So those were some costs that we anticipated increasing that didn't. So those little nuggets, help maintain.
And wouldn't workers' comp have gone down since everyone was working from home? Did that pay?
Actually, it was pretty close to flat.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
At least it didn't go up.
Because we're in a big pool, so our rates, what do they call that? Yeah, our modification was very good because we have had very few claims. But they level it a little bit, so it did, I can't remember whether it went up a smidge or down a smidge. It was almost negligible, the difference.
And then the universal meals
So that's actually the first I've heard of that. Who?
Okay, so they've been talking about it. My understanding is that the federal government decided to not continue,
Right.
whatever, and Newsom was going to be the hero and keep it going. And so now it's claiming that they may not continue their contribution. So I don't know if they're taking over the federal contribution or just part of it, or how that'll affect us. But it was CSBA. I can forward you the email I got.
Yeah, I would love to hear that, and it will depend on whether, because we are a CEP school anyway, we would qualify for free meals for everyone anyway.
'Cause-
The
okay.
question will be the reimbursement rate. If they change that, that could impact us. But if they don't change the rates for that, then we'll be okay.
And at least they move slow, so we'll have time to plan.
Yeah. Well, even if they did reduce the rates, again, we do still have a little bit of a carryover, so we'd be able to weather it for a couple of years, certainly. But they're not talking about doing that this year, right?
I don't know when he would be signing or vetoing these. It's SB 490. Yeah, they are pretty slow moving,
Okay. I'll keep an eye out for that.
but I'll forward the email to you. Okay. Thank you for the report. And then we'll see this again on October 5th.
Right,
With
and
the,
again, there have been a
calculations.
couple little numbers that have been tweaked and changed, but it's essentially what you're looking at here is what you'll see on the 5th, and it'll be just the final packet for approval. Any other questions?
I just had a kind of a general question, which kind of goes with the discretionary budgets, but I was thinking during the pandemic that our copy, because when I worked at the high school, the copy machine was always a discussion point. And I was wondering, as we're coming back out and more Google Classroom is being used, is our copy costs?
Our paper
we saving?
consumption is mostly going down. There are little, last year it didn't because of all the independent study packets. We're still doing a little bit of that, but not anything like last year. So, but we've definitely reduced our paper usage. I know in the district office, almost all of us, hardly any of us have file cabinets anymore. I'm thrilled.
that's awesome.
We're just, learning, and it's sometimes it's a little bit of a struggle because there's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's so much nicer once you get it. It's just same thing. I have folders in here instead of folders behind me, and so we're encouraging everybody to do as much of that as possible. And secretaries have been terrific about using the systems they have. They all have little desktop scanners for Escape and that, so everybody has access to the tools to make that happen.
That's great.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll just keep on watching everything. Thank you. So the next item on reports is 8.3 Fort Bragg High School highlights.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and do a little better with it.
Principal Bruce Triplett will present.
I think it's the first public, so I just want to welcome Erin Mongello to the assistant principal.
Welcome.
So yeah, we have some slides here. The first one is when the incoming freshman came in for the lead crew was there, so that was a slideshow. Totally works.
Where did they put it? Okay.
Do we have permission? Let's go with it, it's okay.
Uh-oh, yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, that's,
All right, it's all right, we got some pictures, we got some good pictures.
You can email it to me.
So
I'll
let's move
I'll
on
pull
to
it up.
pictures.
we should have asked, and I would have corrected it. Pictures are. Well, yeah, because, well, I was gonna say, because we tried opening it, and I said, oh, I don't want to bug them, but I guess we should have.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
If I had my computer, I could do it.
So this was our back to school. We had all the clubs came down there, so here's some pictures of various clubs that were there. Yeah, Magic is a big club. Back to back, they've been pretty busy with all of our sport games.
Oh,
They have different-
that's cute.
Different dress-up days when they go to sport games, so it was pretty good.
And I just want to point out that that's our student rep over here.
Yeah.
There's our
Joe
rep.
Erickson presenting. Nice.
A little bit of the parade.
Yeah, and some FFA to the fair.
There's a lot of their boys.
And this was, so we got lots of awards this year with FFA. That was our first football game. The police took Timmy, I think. It was great to see we had some support. I think the police were very happy. They finally are full staff, and they had a bunch of them at the game, so they were very happy as well.
Yeah, they even had some from Minnesota that came and watched as well. It's pretty good.
A little fire safety just the other day in culinary. The year before, I think we had some people call and said something about the story. So every year, culinary, they go through and learn how to extinguish if there's a grease fire, so it's pretty good. So we had one of our teachers just came out and he saw all the action, so he was on his prep period. Mr. Harris came out and assisted.
So my daughter's in the class, and she said they had extra work because they had to empty them all out because they were expired, so they had a little extra fun.
And this was our kind of secret dress-up day, so we had a little dress-up day. Mr. Wolde, who was a teacher at the high school for, I don't know, 30, how many years, 36
Yeah,
years
I was gonna
or
say,
so.
he was,
there when I think when I
yes,
was in
he
school.
was there as well.
And so we dressed up, I don't think, and then it was, the great thing is I saw him at Harvest the next day. And so I said, I gotta show the picture. And he's like, well, no one will know me. I'm like, they're gonna know you now. So that was we had a great turnout with staff dressing up as
Yeah.
Mr. Wolde. So it was neat to see. And the kids didn't know I was dressed up, so that was great. So there was conversations, but the participation was great.
That's your last picture in the slideshow.
It's okay. All right, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I'm not sure what, but Ms. B's son, I think he got, I don't know what it was, grand champion. So it was very exciting. I don't think we've, I don't know, I asked, I don't know if we've ever won that. Or it's been
No,
quite a while.
no, actually, it's been a few years, but the cool thing, he just got his, that, in the one picture with the, I mean, it's humongous. It's
looked
a
like it.
humongous, but we got it back, and Fort Bragg FFA shoot, I need the numbers. There's 5 winners on there, and Fort Bragg has it 4 times, so it's pretty
Oh,
cool.
wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Impressive. Well, thank you for the highlights. So we have next on the agenda, California School Employee Association report. So I don't know if there's a written or if someone's present to give a report.
No, they have no.
Okay. And so I know this is a busy time, but we do want to celebrate with staff and support you throughout the school year. So if it's one photo, or if it's a written statement, or if you have someone, or we can even probably virtually have them at a meeting. But it is nice because there's a lot of good stuff going on at the schools. So we want to be able to celebrate and support throughout the year. And so the next item would be the Fort Bragg District Teachers Association report. And is there
There's
any?
no report from
Any
them.
report? Okay. Very good. And thank you, staff, for keeping everything going afloat, and look forward to future reports and visits. So approval of agenda consent items. So these items are non-controversial and routine. So if there are any items on the agenda, we can pass in one motion without discussion, or we can pull anything that someone wants to discuss and we can put it on action after. So Vice President Makala, I'll have you read our consent items.
Okay, we have item 9.1, warrants dated August 1st through August 31st, 2022. Excuse me. Item 9.2, minutes, August 11th, 2022, regular meeting. Item 9.3, personnel action report. Item 9.4, contracts. And item 9.5, consolidated application 2022-23.
Okay. So may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda consent items.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
Schneider, and all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? So moved. So we are, oh my goodness, already to our board action items. It's 6:44. Exciting. So 10.1 is comprehensive school safety plans for 2022-23, and we will start with Redwood Elementary. Lundy Erickson.
Thank you. I'm Wendy Benson, the principal at Redwood Elementary. A couple things were updated in our comprehensive safety plan. One being the COVID protocols at the very end. Second being the command system that lists all the people that are responsible for the jobs in the event of a major emergency. That got updated with new staff members. We've got a couple new site council members. The safety plan was approved by our safety committee on site. We reviewed it last week at our first site council meeting, but not all of our parent members were able to attend. So we're actually having a special site council meeting this coming Thursday to get their approval as well. Are there any questions about the safety plan?
So I just had a question. They're all referencing 21-22. So I don't know if that's accurate because you're approving last year's, or do you need to change it to 22-23?
That's to the best of my knowledge, and
Yeah.
please correct me if I'm wrong, we type it into the form with document tracking services. and
Okay.
once they update that, but
Then
that's
it-
not one of the fields that I'm able to.
Oh,
edit.
gotcha.
I don't
Okay.
know if you can
And-
say the right date.
Just so we're clear on when we
That'll
make
be
the motion
updated
that
on
we're
all of them.
approving the right year.
Yes. And it's because state law doesn't actually require these to be approved until February.
Ah,
To
So
be
the-
brought forward to your site councils and things, so we're just a little bit ahead of the curve, so we're
Okay.
just,
well, you were all very consistent. I thought, well, maybe it was last year's that they approved and not much changed. So that makes sense. So the template's not ready to agree that this is this year's.
yes, and so this will all roll over. and-
It'll
Okay.
automatically adjust, and
Okay.
when they're updated, we can provide the board with the updated final product.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions for Ms. Erickson? It's pretty non-controversial, and thank you for updating. So we will take each item separately, and may I have a motion for the Redwood Elementary 2022-23 safety plan?
Make a motion, we approve the Redwood Elementary Comprehensive School Safety Plan for 22-23?
In a second?
I'll second.
And roll call.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Oh, you said Mackle or Matt?
I said Makla.
Okay,
excuse me.
yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Yes. Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes,
And the motion carries.
very good. Thank you very much. And we have Dana Gray Elementary, Jamie Alexander next.
Thank you for reviewing my attire this evening, because as we pointed out, this is our first secret staff meeting, or staff dress-up day. It was a comfortable day. The feedback was that everyone felt a little bit more tired, because they were all. Similar to Ms. Erickson, the only difference in little updates to the Dana Gray Safety Plan were the COVID protocols, as well as the emergency operations page. I did update our, as well, and also our school map, because we have 4 new teachers on our campus who've been doing a great job adjusting to our little community. It was approved by site council and by our staff. The site council meeting, we only had 1 parent show up, so we're hoping to bolster our numbers a little bit. And we're still actually actively trying to find a classified person who'd like to join the group. In the past, it's been Debbie Watson, but since she's going to be retiring in December, she didn't want to pre-commit to something she didn't follow through. So, does anyone have any questions?
Any questions? Okay. So may we have a motion for Dana Gray Elementary 22-23 safety plan?
I'll move to approve the comprehensive school safety plan for Dana Gray for 22-23.
And a second?
I'll second.
Very good, and roll call.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Paley?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Very good, thank you. And thank you for including your map and your new, not students, staff, and the protocols. And then you both have had your site council meetings, that's great. So the next up is Fort Bragg Middle School, Laura Vieira, which actually is not Laura Vieira. It's Mr. Chimolino. Thank you for joining.
Not much has changed. Just like I said, we've updated our staffing, so it reflects each position for safety members now representative of our new staff. I did take out some information in regards to like the suspension report for like 2016, 17, 18, 19. So that I didn't see a reason why every year we list that in there. So this year is reflective of last year. Next year will be reflective of the next. And if you want that information, then you can just go to those instead of a running log of those. So that is different than just the suspension and expulsion records. It's reflective of last year. There is a updated version of our dress code that was passed last year by our leadership and our leadership team and staff, so that is reflected in there. What I like about it is very fluid, so that when issues arise on campus, we can act on them based off of the, I guess, the data that we have, which I'm putting into effect today after like gathering some information. I like that it's fluid, and so that we can change based off of what's best for the kids. Other than that, I think that everything else is the same.
Great. Well, thank you for updating the dress code because as culture changes and student groups change, because I actually looked up our policy for dress code. I think we need to look at that. So we're doing a MIG training anyway, to not, but it's not very. It needs to be updated.
Ours, we had a group, so our leadership team took it upon themselves to do some research last year, found a bunch of examples, and it really allows self-expression, students able to feel comfortable at school, and that's our goal, to get them to come to school and feel comfortable and be able to express themselves. But also, so like we're really focused on like, so for violence, it's like active violence, active drug use, active use of drugs and alcohol. Like those things are not like profanity. Those things are not allowed still. But you know, a big one was brewery shirts. And so a brewery shirt at the middle school, you could wear a brewery shirt. And a lot of kids, that might be their only shirt that they have, and we have crossed that. But it's not active use. It's supporting our local companies here in town, and it's, you know, something that our leadership felt strongly about, and our staff, like that it was all right. It's not detrimental to our kids, so it was pretty neat. And our safety plan was, we did have our leadership meeting, and we did have our site council, our site council pass it as well.
Great, thank you. And it could be someone's local business, supporting family.
So ours is very, I do say it's very lax, but it is very adjustable. So
Right.
if you were looking for something, check it out.
Very good. Any questions? If there are no questions, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the Fort Bragg Middle School's site, or the safety plan. Excuse me.
For 2022-23?
Oh, sorry, for 2022-23.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Schneider, and roll call, please.
Trustee Paley?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Very good, thank you. And our last safety plan for this evening, we will have alternative ed in October. Fort Bragg High School. No, it's in October. Just
Wait,
kidding.
no,
Yeah.
Erin, sit down.
Yeah,
She's not here.
Fort Bragg High School.
We have the
Erin
same, so just kind of
Mongella.
updating our staff, because we have some new staff members and their positions as well on the safety committee. So we're going to have our first site council meeting coming up this Tuesday to do the approval of that. And I think all of our same officers are continuing this year, so we have no change as far as that goes. So, any questions?
Very good. The only question I thought of for all of you, so it's safety, are you distributing a lot of COVID tests? Are people wanting to take those home? Or are they wanting to administer on site? Is that going down? Is it increasing?
I would say, I mean, at first, it seemed like I was doing a lot of testing, and I haven't been. And I would say very many in the last week. We've had quite a few parents come up to the office and take some of the tests home, but we still have quite a
Not
lot
much.
in our
Okay.
staff room,
So
so.
they're still available
Yeah,
for folks, and they
definitely.
can bring them home, or you can, because the district office is only offering 2 readings or 2 testing times.
Yeah, we have 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning and 3:15 to 4:15 in the afternoon for administered tests. We also have a lot of take-home tests available at the district
Okay.
office.
And then do you, at any time, I mean, not that we're advertising this, but anytime someone comes up to the office,
Mhm.
yeah, you
Yep.
administer. Well, thank you. Any other questions for high school safety plan? No questions? A motion, please?
I'll move to approve the comprehensive school safety plan for 21-22 for the high school.
In a second?
22-23.
Oh, see, I'm reading it, and I'm like, okay, I need to change it, and then I didn't for 22-23.
Off the screen.
Very good. In a second.
Second.
Mattson, and roll call, please.
Trustee Paley,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Makala,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so once again, in October, we will have Alt Ed join us for the safety plan. And so the next items on the agenda is 10.2, the discretionary budgets for 22-23, and we will start with Redwood Elementary.
All right. Not much has changed in our budget. The amounts in the carryover for the grade level funds, that's something that increased because they didn't do a lot of spending last year. The money that I'm putting toward classroom supplies increased substantially this year because our Parents Club hasn't been able to do fundraising for the last 2 years. Typically, 200 goes from the discretionary budget and 200 has come from our Parents Club to fund classroom supplies. They are able to do what they're able to do, and so I made up the difference with discretionary funds for that, making sure that we've got what we need in our classrooms, and that's definitely going to be an item for discussion with our leadership team, looking at costs going up and needing to perhaps increase the money that teachers get to buy all the things that they need to create wonderful learning opportunities for kids. In order to fund that, the money is given to grade levels, right there at the top, those first 3 boxes. That decreased a bit. Teachers understand the reasoning behind that, and this budget has been approved by both my site council and my leadership team. What questions do you have about the budget?
Anyone have any questions? You brought up a good point, because that was one of my questions, is how often is it, because I know there was some sort of calculation why each school got X amount of dollars, and does that get reviewed periodically?
Yes, it gets.
Yeah, it gets looked at every year. We
Okay.
do a whole reconciliation of this is what you started with, this is what you spent, this is what you're carrying over, and this is the
This is-
allocation to each site.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. If there are no other questions, then we need a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve the 22-23 Redwood discretionary budget.
In a second,
I'll second.
and roll call, please.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then we have Dana Gray Elementary with their 2022-23 discretionary budget, which is very little.
Not too much change this year. I think we worked through leadership and site council to kind of condense a couple of our line items because it said supply closet and then it had like markers and then another line for composition notebooks. And since all those things are in the supply cupboard, we just kind of condensed a couple of those. The teachers' allocations went down to 250 from 350 this year because we wanted to add a little bit more in the administration line item to help pair with the Parents Club to buy a new marquee. We're realizing that our marquee, as cute as it is, can only hold so much information, and there's lots of things that we'd like to put out there to the community that we're not able to. And it also isn't very fun to change the letters in the rain with an umbrella. That's the feedback I'm getting from the front office staff. So I submitted that information to the Parents Club, and we're going to be looking around for a marquee to be installed. So we did roll over some money in the grade levels, and I think the third grade has a whole bunch of really good ideas about how they're going to be spending their little bit of carryover. A lot of their focus has been on creating an inviting classroom, since that's the big focus with MTSS and our on the SEL focus. So creating a wonderful learning environment. But besides that, we don't really have. We did add in $500 back into the budget, a line item for a Pod Squad, since Pod Squad, the elementary school link/web made-up version of that, hasn't been able to be active during COVID. And right now we have a 5th grade teacher who was a link crew leader, and a classified person who also was a link crew leader a couple years ago. And they're very excited about getting Pod Squad up and running to welcome in the incoming 3rd graders. So we'll start that process in May with the link crew leaders coming over and doing a little activity with the 4th graders and getting them excited. But besides that, it's pretty much the same as the year before.
And so is the family night new? Because there was no carryover from last year, unless they did it last
The family night hasn't happened, I think, because of COVID, and the staff's having a really fun fun time coming up with the different nights they want to have, maybe a math night, a reading night, a science night. So they're kind of coming up with ideas on what they want to do. The problem seems to be there's not enough time in the year, and that seems like a crazy thing to say in September, but it's hard to squeeze in fancy nights with all the planning. So, and they're going to be pairing up with the Parents Club to get some help with the organization of those kind of nights.
Very good.
What's the online curriculum program?
That's Flocabulary. So the little kids have Clever, which is an online, it pairs with iReady, which is the online testing, the diagnostic testing that they do 3 times a year. And within the Clever system, they have Flocabulary, they have a typing, should probably know the name of the typing system, and they have Brain Pop. So they're just different online ways to learn and practice in a fun way. They're really interactive little programs. And so what's nice is, when I was at the high school, the challenge is when the kids are done with the CAS test, what do you do to keep them quiet? And what I like about the iReady is once they're finished, each student has what's called My Path, and it's based exactly on what they're learning and where they are on the diagnostic test they just took. And so they're engaged for the remainder of the time that everyone's supposed to be taking a test, and they're plugged right in at their instructional level on whatever ELA or math. So that's the online portion of that.
So it just kind of brings a bigger question, I guess, about these discretionary budgets versus the main budget, right? Curriculum, the main budget is in curriculum, right? I mean, the curriculum is in the main budget. So wouldn't something like this?
Right, so these are generally supplemental programs that add to or accentuate the core curriculum.
Okay. And then you have both a library committee and a classroom library committee?
The library committee is for our librarian to enhance the library, and the classroom library is when, like, if I want to get a classroom set up the Bridge to Terabithia, and we have a book room that has a lot of antiquated Bridge to Terabithias, and I think we're going to be looking at having the grade levels look exactly what they want to enhance and use in their classroom. And then this year, I stole a good idea from Carol Nolte at the high school on those less expensive books that are falling apart, giving them to the student and letting them actually annotate and write in them and take them home, and then just use that money to bolster up that set.
Great.
I don't know why I keep going to Bridge to Terabithia. It is a good book.
That's great.
Very
Are there
good.
any other questions?
Okay. May I have a motion for Dana Gray?
Sure, I'll make a motion to adopt the Dana Gray Elementary discretionary budget for 22-23.
In a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Makala,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
and Trustee Mattson.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you very
great.
much.
Thank you. So next up is Fort Bragg Middle School. Mr. Chimolita. Uh-oh.
I was not planning on doing the budget, but I think I'll be fine. So we did it with leadership and site council, so not much has changed, I guess, from last year. The same allocations, but I think actually our ag did change because it is now CTE, and so it's actually funded. That money was not allocated to ag. It has money, but it's CTIG, I want to say. So it is funded that way. But yeah, there's not many differences. Any questions?
I was just wondering with some of the carryovers, if you know, like I remember departments saving for scales or calculators, and I was just curious if you guys had any big projects coming that you know of, since you're on the spot.
Yeah, not that I know of. I know our humanities thought they had spent all of their money, but they actually did not, and so they have more money than they expected. They thought that last year they had spent all of it on books, and they actually had more carryover than they had thought. But for our math, they're looking at some different trainings. I know Joe Bowler was one that they did last year through Stanford, and they want to do some type of math training. So that's kind of what they're saving up for. Other than that, I don't know of any big projects, minus our ag department, that they really want to keep it rolling and expand as much as possible and capture more students. So our ag department there, Ms. Duran, is pretty solid and pretty ambitious.
What's PBIS?
So PBIS is our positive behavior intervention systems. And so the past 2 years, Ms. Molson was actually paying for rewarding students for their positive behaviors through her counseling funds. And so we actually made it a line item so that we can, when we are giving out paws, our purple paws for positive reinforcement, we were doing weekly drawings. And so we'll get back to weekly drawings. And so like there were volleyballs, there were, kids actually made lists of like what they would be interested in for a drawing. And we pay for those things through that for supporting them.
And then web?
Web is just like Link Crew, so where everybody belongs. And that is for our 8th graders welcoming our 6th graders. It's our inter-program transitioning 5th graders to 6th grade, and they continue it throughout the school year. And what this year is different and where the money will actually help, the 8th graders are dedicating their lunches. So every Thursday they get trained on how to work with our 6th graders. And then the Fridays they hold events during lunch. And so our 8th graders are sacrificing a lot of their lunches to help provide support for our 6th graders, to make them feel comfortable, to give them a safe spot. So our quad is our sixth grade web spot for Fridays. And so like last Friday, it was all games. We made 7th and 8th graders stay out except for the web leaders. And oh boy, did the 7th and 8th graders want to get in there. There was loud music, but the 6th graders loved that space. And so we'll use it for getting like certain equipment for games, providing lunches for the 6th graders and so forth. It's pretty good. I like the turnout
Yeah.
so far.
What time is this?
12:53 to 1:24.
Something like that. Okay, 12:50 to 1:20. So the only question I had was, you have professional development. So I'm just wondering what you guys are saving up for, or what you want to have happen but haven't had happen, because now you have a big balance.
Yeah, so what Ms. Vera would like to do, from my understanding, I can't speak to her for her, but my understanding is she in the past has taken groups to go and visit, like actual, like it was a CLMS, like actual other middle schools that are implementing some pretty fancy stuff that we would like to try and get an idea of how to do it.
Okay.
And so she would like to take teams get back to that. We haven't been
Okay.
able to do it for
Right.
because of COVID, but she would like to start doing that again.
That answers my question. Okay, very good.
So I just had a couple more, and so you have a budget for each grade level and then a budget for each teacher.
Yeah, so each teacher gets $100 discretion for like classroom supplies or something that they are needing for the classroom, and so that does not come out of their like humanities. Each humanity teacher has the $100 specifically for their class that they can get something that they need for them.
And like so the whole 6th grade, if they wanted to use money from that, they'd all have to agree to spend.
Not the $100, but
But
for
the bigger budget.
yeah, the 6th grade team would have to like,
Okay.
this is what we want as a 6th grade team. And that's for like class sets, and like I know humanities, they were doing like books last year, and so the humanities team had to agree on those. So it kind of flows with what curriculum they're teaching or what they're going off of.
And then the last question is world language. It seems interesting.
Yeah, so we have Miss Valenzuela this year, and really it is, so it's Spanish, but it is native Spanish and Spanish, I guess, beginning Spanish. So they're really just getting Spanish, but she's also trying to incorporate like worldly ideas and traveling around the world and learning about different cultures. And so basing it off of Spanish and preparing them for high school. So if you're in the native Spanish class, it should get you into the next level at the high school. So it meets the A to G requirement as an 8th grader, so that you can take more Spanish classes at the high school.
Nice, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, a motion?
I'll move to approve the Fort Bragg Middle School discretionary budget for 22-23.
And a second?
Second.
And roll call.
President Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Makla,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
and Trustee Babcock.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. You did great. Put on the spot. You did. And then we have Fort Bragg High School budget for 2022-23.
So ours mostly is carryover, and you'll see some of our departments, they are saving. So I think our math, they're trying to get some more calculators, and it can ruin a budget very quickly, so they've saved up. Our science, sometimes when they're saving up, usually they're saving up for maybe they're doing a dissecting or something, and it costs a lot of money. So our bulk of our funds goes to the teachers. So they too get the $100, each teacher, and then each department, we base it off, basically off of how many sections they have. And some, it depends, it varies, so sometimes it's more expensive. The English department is great at spinning theirs, because as soon as they want new novels in there, they're ordering. And then we're not, like this year, we put a little budget in for the AD that we've never really had a budget, but just in case it's a new person, they're traveling a lot, so if they needed some items that it's not that much, so I don't even know if we'll need it, so we just put it in this year just a little bit, just in case. What else did we add? Pay it forward pantry, we're noticing that we had to add a little line item. They get a lot of support, but I think a lot of their funding was from that they're not getting the revenue anymore. So, and a lot of the teachers are using the supplies, so I think our group offered, each department offered to give them $100 out of their, and then so I figured that, we need to fund them as well, because they're supporting the whole school. And kids are going in there constantly, and it's notebooks, pens and, paper, plus food. So we put a line item this year, was the first year we've done that.
Are you still getting community donations?
We are.
You are?
We are, yeah.
Great.
And we're a grant's coming up too, that we just got. So I think they just wrote a grant and got it, and it was 50,000 or something, matching grant. So they're doing a lot, and I think it was more than they thought. So, but the kids are using it, so it's great to see. And I think the other one, like planners, kids weren't really using planners, so we still have it as a line item. There's a carryover. We had discussion, if kids want it, we can order them separately, but a lot of it, we were spending it and they weren't using them as much, and so we just took it out. And I think that's it. And then tech, last year we had a lot of tech, but we just purchased, last year we did, purchase a new computers. So that those are in there, and thank goodness we did, because we have the college in there, and if we didn't, they wouldn't have been able to use it, because they were doing some computer programming and things like that. So thank goodness we got new ones. But we do have some tech in case, like a teacher's, their document camera goes down, so there's a little bit of funding in there, because that can get expensive quickly. So we put some money in there as well. But mostly it's the carryover, and it's the teachers' budgets in each department.
I had a question. It's not about your budget actually, but what are the college courses this year?
So the hard part is, I think the pandemic has not helped with the college getting some of and coming to the coast. So we're having a hard time. And I think so we're doing a early childhood development, and then we're doing it's a digital media course, but it's about like Photoshop and things like that. So those are the two right now we're doing.
And then public speaking? Is that?
Yeah, we all do public speaking, and there's a history one as well an art one we do. So those are usually the four that we swap. So we're trying to, we had a business one that kids were very excited about, and then they didn't have a teacher. So, and then the one they had wasn't really the ones the kids wanted, so that's why we went to the early childhood class. And then the computer one that the kids wanted, they didn't have a person there either. So we're getting there.
Yeah.
So do you guys have a fund to assist kids with some of the extra activities like dances or yearbooks, or like a scholarship fund or something?
Well, Children's Fund, it supports quite a bit. I mean, that stream has decreased, but usually, the counselors, we do have, that's what we've used it. So there is a fund there.
So if people want to go to a dance and can't afford it, or
well, and usually we don't charge if it's that bad. So if they go and talk to counselors, we find a way.
okay, yearbooks, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. There's one other question I had. Sorry. Graduation, no more money. You don't need any money for that.
Well,
this year?
the district pays for the graduation, so so usually it was just for the the covers and things like that, but the district paid for it. So we kept as line item because last year I think they wanted the fancier during COVID. We had the fancy programs with the color and all that, and so but we've had support. Our community has supported us, so we haven't really had to pay for it. So we've kept the line item just in case, but our community has came out and paid for lots of stuff and sponsored.
So what do those programs run?
They're usually
roughly
they're
the-
about $1,200 or so, $1,500.
And that'll give enough for the audience, $1,200?
Those are different because those are
Okay.
black and white, but the
Gotcha.
colored ones that the
Oh,
kids take home,
Right, gotcha.
those are the expensive
Yeah,
ones.
yeah, okay, got it. The only question I had was just wondering what you were gonna do with the staff development.
Staff development, a lot of that is for food and things like that. To get them there, I mean, they're all day, and so if you feed them,
During a meeting?
it's
Yeah,
during meetings,
gotcha.
they're a lot happier.
That's what I
And
hear.
So that's, in a food for staff is expensive,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Good, okay.
And is Mesa still going?
Mace, well, we didn't have a person, so that's why we've kept it there, and they've have money carryover in there. Last year, we almost had it, and a lot of things went away, so we're keeping it there just in case we have interest, and we have a faculty member that wants to do it. So it's there just in case.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, motion, please.
I'll move to approve the high school, Fort Bragg High School's discretionary budget 2022-23.
In a second,
Well, second.
and roll call, please.
Trustee Mackla,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
and President Paoli.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Very good. And I think we will be reviewing alternative ed discretionary budget 22-23.
Yes, I'm happy to present that
Okay.
piece. Unfortunately, Connie couldn't be here tonight, but pretty straightforward budget that they have their office and classroom supplies, $1,000, and then curriculum materials. And by curriculum materials, I think this is really the hands-on pieces that they're using in the big picture learning. So within their makerspace, some of the different just requirements that are there. And then they also still have the CSI funding for this year, we think that. And so we're putting everything over to that we possibly can as the most restricted, so that we keep working that. I don't know if we'll be able to encumber it all this year or not, but if we can, we'll figure out a way to do it. So.
Perfect. So anyone have any questions?
So I'll move to approve the alternative education discretionary budget for 22-23.
In a second.
I'll second.
And roll call, please.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Mackla,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
and President Paoli.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Thank you. And thank you all for being present and supporting kids and each other. So the next item on the agenda is 10.3, teacher consent form.
Right, so the teacher consent form is just to allow a teacher who is willing to teach outside of their credentialed area. There are several ed codes that allow that to happen, and so this will allow Susan Garrett to have her assignment as a drama and choir teacher at the middle school.
Okay, pretty straightforward. Anyone have any questions or comments? And she is experienced. I had her for Dana Gray Choir. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion, we approve item 10.3, the teacher consent form.
In a second?
I'll second.
And roll call, please.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Mackla,
Yes.
and President Paoli.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
And we have the Expanded Learning Opportunity Plan 10.4.
Okay, so this plan was attached to the agenda. I won't go through all the points of it necessarily, but this is a living, breathing document. So this is sort of the baseline for this plan. To give you a little background about the extended learning opportunities, the grant requirements, we have to offer for our students, inclusive of the school day, a 9-hour day. So that can start with some before school, so we're thinking about some before school opportunities at particularly at Dana Gray, where the start time is just late to a point where it can interfere with some of our parents getting to work on time, that sort of thing. And then looking at after school components for students as well. We want to continue our partnership that we have under Kudos with the Parks and Rec, or Recs and Park Department. And MCRPD is working very closely with me to create the MOU to really keep tweaking this budget until we get it right. This year, money is not really a concern. They were very generous at the state level in giving us an augmented amount. That amount will settle down a little bit in future years, but I think this year it gives us the opportunity to approach some unique one-time purchases. So we are looking at Dana Gray at the idea of, and I've put this to the state, they said, don't ask, you're not going to be audited. As long as it correlates and connects with the program, you're fine in expending it. And so we are looking at replacing the playground there, and that will be a significant expense. But, you know, in talking with Miss Alexander when she said, gee, I played on that playground. I said, it's maybe time that we update that a little bit. So we're looking forward to the idea of being able to work with the students and the staff to select an inclusive play area as a part of this grant. That obviously that play area gets used by after school as well, so it's really, you know, it'll get used on the weekends. We know it'll be a well-used money. We would also, if there's money within that budget as well, I'd like to look at making Redwood's playground structure more accessible by figuring out if we can put in that rubberized material on the bottom as opposed to the chips, just because it's just hard for anyone with any mobility issues to get actually over to the structure when you're wading through several inches of wood chips. And some of our littles have some issues with that as well. So that's a big one. Also at Dana Gray, out of this, we're looking at funding a really neat projector system that will work with our physical activity. And it essentially is an interactive projector. So students use balls or other objects on the wall to interact with the program, and it gets them moving, but it has math facts and it has vocabulary and other pieces built in, all within the software system. So we're really looking forward to it. We're also getting that same system at the middle school, but that's coming out of our Title IV funding there. So we should have some very interesting approaches to physical education that are coming out of this and get our students up and active. That really felt like a piece that we could spend this money on and it would be well spent as we were going through our meetings and talking with folks. This plan also allows for some money to build an additional classroom that will be used in after school. So we're asking our architect to look at the phase 2 work at Redwood and see if we can include an additional classroom specifically for after school program, just because we need good space for this work, and we've got some great programs, so let's make sure we're supporting that way. Let's see, what else we're also looking at the opportunity to have community partnerships funded out of this. So if we have someone who's passionate about a particular project, say if they want to come in and teach a limited term dance class for a few weeks, or you know, maybe it's pottery or whatever it is that we have within the community, we'll have a fund to be able to pay folks to do that on a short term and really enrich our students, I think, in that way. So in addition to our normal school year, we'll also have 30 days outside of the school year that we will offer a 9-hour day, and that'll come in a couple of different ways. The first will be the Kudos program will offer through our, and Beth, correct me if I'm wrong, it's spring break and is it February break? Is that the other?
Or during the summer,
Or-
just an extra 10 days.
Yeah, so we'll find an extra 10 days and then we'll run a 20-day summer school program as we typically have. The extra 10 days that we find are going to be, those are going to be challenging to plan. And so I know Beth and I have been talking about, what does it look like to have students 9 hours a day straight through in a program, and how does that work? So, but I know her staff are expert and will figure that out, and we'll work. We have plenty of resource to figure out ways to keep them engaged, I think, and whatnot. And then during summer school, we'll run our academic portion in the mornings, and then pick up with the Kudos staff in the afternoon to help support students out for that day as well. So I really appreciate the MCRPD's partnership with us in this. Our programs are great because of the partnership that we have and all the work that their staff do as well. And so I'm looking forward to being able to move forward, hopefully with approval.
Okay, any questions?
That's a lot of work since the last time we met.
It is. And the only thing I was wondering is is the Dana Gray the venue only, or is it for just Dana Gray students? So in the morning, can any student go to Dana Gray
So
for the morning program, or is it
the
just for
times that
Dana?
we're looking at would probably be just for Dana Gray
Yeah,
students, but
okay.
it's not that has to be exclusive. If that's successful and it looks like we can expand, we will. As I
Right.
said, this is sort of a living, breathing
Right.
document that will grow and change as we move forward. So if it seems like there's a need at Redwood, we'll absolutely figure out a way to fund that as well. Money's not
But
really.
they would stay at Redwood. They wouldn't
They
be
would stay at
busing to Dana Gray to
No.
partake in that. So
No,
they-
we would want that to be,
Okay.
and ultimately, I'd like to see if we can add some, a bilingual element to it at some point, just so maybe it's educational in a whole different way for our students, during that time or whatnot, so.
So it looks like there's over $500,000 in here for salaries and staffing. So is that district staffing or is it district,
That-
rec district staffing or?
Rec district, so that's the additional amount that it will take. And a large portion of that comes from our TK students. When you really look at that portion of the program, when you think that they get out at 12:30 and that program really has to run until 6 o'clock in the evening. So that's a significant area, and our staffing has to be no more than 10 students to 1 adult. So it becomes, we have to have an even higher staffing ratio in that class for TK and K in that time.
So the ELO teachers are also rec district staffing?
So ELO teachers would be rec district staffing, but it would be our teachers applying with the rec district, hopefully, so that we can avoid some of the other pieces that come with that, but so that they can help support that program and hopefully have some one day a week or, that type of thing. That's kind of been working on the ideas of what that would look like and how that would grow.
Because the last 2 summers, the summer school teachers, they were school district staff, right?
Right, and summer school still will be,
It'd be separate from
right,
this.
will be separate, but
Okay.
it will be included in this budget as well. And so it's kind of this, there'll be a little bit of blurred lines, I think, back and forth, but we're pretty good on the back end about knowing who's where and where
Who's
the funding's
responsible for
coming from.
who and
Yes.
workers' comp and all that good
Yes.
stuff. It's like a
Right.
dance.
Yes.
Right.
Got it. It's exciting.
And so this is a lot of work, and I hope we have families that will appreciate all the effort and have staff that can keep kids safe and entertained for 9 hours. So in the beginning, we thought we didn't want to touch the money because we couldn't engage them for 9 hours. And so is there some sort of attendance to know that we're doing that or not, or it's just too early to tell? Like, this is going to change and flex as we know more?
It will change and flex. We've been talking about different ways to gather attendance, and really Kudos has some really good attendance because the ACES grant requires really strict
Right.
attendance policies. The nice part with this is that with the ELO funds, we don't have to be so strict in that side. So it'll be really nice that we have an option to say, oh, you can't come every day, but you can come a couple of days a week. Great, we'll put you in the other side of this program. But we're also looking at like Aries to kind of be a place that we could collect attendance to if we needed to.
Right. So if someone wanted to partake in the program but didn't want to stay for the whole 9 hours, it still counts? They still
Yes.
count? And we can just say, well, I'm just picking up at 3 every day or 3:30 because but I'm not having them stay till 6. That's
Right.
still okay. Okay.
And
So I was
there's-
thinking, how are we going to do this?
Yeah, and there's no minimum requirement for participation for a student. If they come to one event, then they count as having attended the ELO
Okay.
program.
Well, hopefully it's taken, that people are able to use it because it's what a service
Right.
of quality, trained.
So it's pretty
Staff.
flexible, really, for
It
that
is.
end of it.
It adds a little more flexibility than ACES, which is a wonderful grant, but it is very restrictive and
Right.
you have to do
Yes.
X, Y, and Z, so.
And so would students in the summer school be able to just do the standard summer school in the morning and not do the afternoon? They can
Yes.
just partake as they like?
As they would like, yes.
That's great.
So pick and choose.
Yes.
So
Very
is
good.
the end result, is there going to be like an MOU between the 2 districts that's going to define all
Absolutely,
this
yes.
stuff?
So
And
we wanted
It's
to
just a lot of
start-
money, that's why it's like.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why we wanted to start with a kind of general plan, build the MOU off of that, and then bring that back to you. We're hoping, I hope we can get it on next month's agenda. So the rec district can move forward as well because they've got their board that they have to go through and job descriptions and,
Well, they have to hire all these people.
right, and all of that. So, boy, we're hoping we can find some folks, but they've got some plans to hopefully provide some encouragement for folks that want to be a part of
Right.
the
And
program.
so I'm going to continue to assume that Renee's checking our
I am,
email, and so we don't have any public comment, but there could be someone that would like to speak on this present. So I don't know if anyone in the audience has a public comment? Okay.
Okay, I
See-
do have one. I'm
Okay.
sorry. There is one that just popped in from Monique saying, could you please ask the speakers to speak directly into the microphones? Perhaps
So
our sound
sound
may
check.
be a little
Okay.
tough. Yeah, so be sure
Thank
everyone's using the microphones. Thank you, Monique.
So hopefully, we didn't lose content. So if there are no questions or public comment, may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve item 10.4, Expanded Learning Opportunity Plan.
In a second?
I'll second.
And roll call, please.
Trustee Mackla,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
President Paoli,
Yes.
and Trustee Babcock.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Great, thank you. So our next item, unless someone needs to take a break, are we
should
good?
probably give these folks a chance to go home, huh?
They are welcome to stay as
Yeah.
long as they'd like or exit at any moment, but I'm not their bosses, so I'm saying that. But yeah, anytime. This would be a good time to, we're going to pause until the next item. Anyone needs to take a break? Thank you.
for all coming. Thank you. Bye. Wish you luck with the rest of the meeting.
Can I ask a question about the last item?
Yes.
So are we gonna see this again, or is
Yes.
that it?
You will
Nope,
see it
he's-
probably.
So what did we just approve?
He was,
So you approved kind of a baseline for us to be able to move forward. We had to have a plan that was approved to be able to expend funds within it.
Okay.
So we couldn't go any further down that until we had that approved and moving forward. But yes, this document will probably come back and look very different by the end.
in
of-
October, you said maybe next month.
Yes.
General framework.
Yes.
Okay, because there's a lot in this, and so
Yes.
approve the whole thing and never see it again would be like,
Oh,
And
no,
there's a
no,
lot of
no.
zeros.
You'll see it a
Right.
lot.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, what are we
You're
doing for
probably
that
Yeah, the
six.
1.3
salaries is
million?
like, holy cow.
well, I just think this is gonna involve the community a lot, and so I think the more we can get it out there, the more successful it'll be, so.
Right.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
make sure we're talking in our mics.
Oh, yes.
Good
Yes.
stuff. Okay, really. So 10.5 is the Board of Trustee Governance Handbook, and we did look at it a few times, but we weren't really able to focus 100% on it because we had lots of things going on. But I did want to just update it, the standard information with new superintendent, the year was incorrect, and then we had to update the LCAP goals. And I think there was a typo on the last page, was corrected as well. So since we're doing MIG and we're doing equity networking, I think we're going to get a lot from those items plus reading our book. So I just wanted to say with this piece that I'd like to look at this again more closely and maybe making it more concise and having a portion of it to be kind of a breathable, living document in the sense that I think we can combine the governance, like on page 5, the positive governance team culture, governance protocols, and meeting guidelines, that we as 5 review those every year and make them kind of more of a, items that we think that we need to work on or that that are really important to us, and then we kind of assess that, because this is saying a lot. It's a lot of words, but I think that we can make it more concise so that it's more meaningful. And then we review it and see what we need to work on, or that, what we need to, if there's ever a change in the board, it can bring light to, we want to make sure that it's helping us, this guiding us to, before any problems come up or anything. And I also want to spend more time on the protocols to make sure that maybe we want to pick 5 solid ones and fine tune them, because there's just certain things, like CCing the president, maybe that, with everything that goes out, talking about that, and then how to address emails that come in. Like if we have a hot ticket item, is everyone just saying, I've received it? Or do we have something in the protocols to say, either the superintendent responds or the board president, and then everyone else doesn't touch it? Just because we just need to make it clear if something does come up in the future, because, and to be consistent, just because sometimes it can be when everyone's responding, it can create some confusion. So anyway, just like those little things that we won't really have, I just wanted to make sure that we had a document that was at least, reviewed, and then in January, during our self-evaluation, we can review it more closely, and maybe we can all have that book read by then instead of having it every month, because you are working on the equity, and I don't want to burden anyone with that, but maybe we could just plan for that, more of a thorough look at it to make it more concise, because I have another sample from another school that we can just tighten it up so that it's more meaningful to review, quickly and not get too wordy. But I don't think it's terribly long. Most folks are 8 to 10 pages. So
It's nice to make it something we actually are using actively, as opposed to something we look at once a year and go, whoops. got
and
it,"
just
or, "Ooh, change it."
editing the words, but have it be
A living word.
something that we're really trying to follow to keep our roles.
And my
tight.
goal, when I was pushing this down people's throats several years ago, is that I wanted education to also happen, so that when situations do arise and we are dealing with a room full of people, that they understand why we don't speak to them when they're doing public comment on a non-agenda item, instead of us just staring at them, so they knew ahead of time, especially our staff and parents, so that they know what the protocols are, what Robert's Rules of Order and the Brown Act and all these things that govern us. So that was another thing, is that, so I think, Dinah, it's great if we could get it even more concise, so that we could do the road show and attend a union, each
Site.
bargaining units or sites, or however we want to divide that up, and go out and explain, how things go on the agenda, and how, when they speak at the podium, how we are able or not able to respond. So that's the next step too, is that it isn't something that just goes on the website, but that we're actually using it and then educating our people.
Yeah, I know. I think it's so smart to have one, and I'm glad we have this to work with. But yeah, you want folks to be able to read it, because I don't think anyone's going to read 10 pages, but I don't think we can cut out a ton either. I mean, it's hard. There's sections that you can,
And we could almost do it in more of a infograph too, where things are quick. You can find things a little bit. I mean, we tried to make headings and things, but even if we did some boxes and things that are even
the
quicker
highlights.
to
Yeah,
right,
because maybe
scan.
we would make an appendix at the back to have like a quick reference, some sort of sheet that we can have at the meetings or something. Because I just think that it is valuable, and people don't understand the protocol, and they don't value it because they think we're being uptight or too formal, but it is what keeps it professional, and it keeps things calm, and so it's just there's a reason for it. So anyway, so I don't know if anyone else has found anything that we need to change for this meeting, but I do have it as an action item.
And do we need to sign this tonight?
We can if it's approved. I mean, we could table it for the next month. I just thought that it was probably ready at this point.
I think unless
For-
we're going to do a whole workshop,
Yeah,
I
and
think
then
it's
just
fine to
work
move forward.
work to kind of make it more concise in January.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure there's no public comment. There are no folks in the room, but I will ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the proposed Board of Trustees Governance Handbook for 2022.
In a second,
I'll second.
and roll call, please.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
President Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Very good. So I'll pass it around. And so the next item is 10.6, the proposed academic calendar 2023-24.
All right. So between the two calendars, there are very minute differences. Draft 1 does not include an emergency closure day. Draft 2 does include the emergency closure day, which puts our start date of school on a Tuesday rather than on the Wednesday within there. So those are the only differences between the two. I recommend that we have the emergency closure day within the calendar. It's, that way if we do have to file a J13A in the future because of some other closures that happen, the state is happy that we included that at that point.
And so remind me again, I don't know why this is so hard for me to, the concept. There is a point that we would maybe have to go to school on that day, or it's if what
we had
happened?
a PSPS event during October, then we would want to use that day as a makeup.
Okay,
It's like a snow day.
gotcha. So if we have an extra day, 'cause that's why this is so weird that you put it in as a holiday, and it's a free day unless you have some other outage in a different time of month. Like what if PSPS came in March? I mean, you would still have to.
We would still.
You have to say now
use
we're
that
going to
as a
school on the
makeup.
18th.
Yes.
Unless it happens in April.
But you're planning for an outage. This is what I don't understand. You're planning for an outage
So
thinking you don't have to
There's a form,
disrupt.
if you have to close the district for any particular reason, like a water outage,
Yes.
or a power outage, or the roads are too dangerous for the buses to go out, you file a J13 with the state, explain to them why you had this massive decrease in ADA or no ADA. So like we did it during the tsunami, because half the coast fled inland, so
Right.
we had very low attendance. So we, got asked for an allowance for that day. What they have said is because of the fires and the storms that are so prevalent, what the state started to say was, y'all live in a place that has storms every single year. You should know this is going to happen. This is not an unforeseeable thing. You should build in something. And they are threatening to deny some of these J13 waivers if you don't show that you tried to do something to make up the time.
That you had a
So-
built-in day.
So we
I
are
see now.
trying to
Okay.
build in at least one day each year that we can use as an offset if we need to show the state, yes, look, we did our due diligence, we did create a day that we could use to offset one of them. We had 3, so we're just gonna ask for the waiver for 2 of them. And so it kind of, the state is forcing us to show good faith in attempting to mitigate that
Gotcha.
problem.
So I think that's why it's deceiving, because to me, it looks like a free day. If I'm a kid or a family, I'm thinking this is a day off guaranteed. So like emergency makeup day, I mean, I don't know if changing the verbiage,
Sure.
because people,
Sure.
this was a post office question. I don't understand, because some people had to go to work and some people didn't have to go to work. And then I was like, you know what? Now I'm confused. I know it's about reimbursement and they want you to have that, but it really is there as a placeholder to make up a day.
Right.
And then luckily, we still have 180 days for student.
Yes.
And so it's really an extra day if we don't have an emergency.
Exactly.
But people need to know that there's a possibility you're going to want to go to school that day.
Yes.
So I don't know if there's another terminology, but that's just my brain, and it's probably not really fully necessary, but now I'm going to understand it better.
No, I think makeup
Makeup
is
day.
much better than closure.
Emergency
Yeah.
makeup day.
That might, okay. Yes, we'll change that verbiage for sure.
And also on that draft, it still has the 16th as the first day of class. Unless I'm looking at it wrong.
First day of instruction is Wednesday.
So I just have to change that.
Yep.
And then I will just use this opportunity to make a comment about this calendar in general, that it would be great if there was some point in the future that we could actually look at some of the bigger issues in the calendar. For example, the winter break. Just kind of seems too bad that we have to do these 2 weeks instead of, the week of the 25th and the week of the 1st. I know that the contracts give us pretty much zero room for change, but I know each year is different and the world is changing and things are happening, and it'd just be great to have a little more flexibility to accommodate families and teachers as well when we look at this each year. So that's just a little bug.
I would think that's the one that we might have flexibility on, because isn't it that we have to have no more than 8 weeks between times off? And November to December, we only have 3 weeks, so it seems like that's.
It's all in contract language.
Oh, even the
That's-
3 weeks is there. Oh,
Well, no, it's you can't change where Thanksgiving is, but anything that's movable at all is in contract language.
yeah.
Okay. And then, was there any discussion or objection, from staff or students of a start time of Tuesday versus a Wednesday?
There were no concerns on that end of things, no. When we shared this out, there was no one had a concern, so.
Okay, so we just need to, ideally approve one of these, academic calendars, with the correction, because I think the one we had gotten at agenda setting did say Tuesday, so it's funny how.
Yeah.
Is there a deadline to approve this?
It will be next month, so we could put it to that.
I was
point.
gonna say, because, so we can publish the correct,
We could,
so people see the Tuesday and not
And change the
Wednesdays on
verbiage.
both.
we could
And
table
change
it
the
till
verbiage, yeah.
October.
Yes, that's usually our timeline is to have it approved in October,
Mhm.
so there's no issue with bringing it back then.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess, do you want to make a motion to table it to next month?
Sure, I'll make a motion to table item 10.6, proposed academic calendar 23-24 to next regular meeting on October 20th.
Yes.
October 20th, yeah. And a second,
I'll second.
and then I'll just do an oral, just, there are no objections to putting it off till October 20th, so we'll table that. And then we come to the 10.7, the board policy and administrative regulation, that were updates recommended for June 2022, and we did go through this pretty thoroughly, and Renee's done a great job of showing what we discussed, and then if there was anything that had to go to staff, those options are here.
Okay, I just noticed that in 3551, it is, option 1 is not correct.
Oh,
It
gosh.
says that the cafeteria staff will be paid from the general fund, and the board will direct reimbursement to the general fund at its discretion. That is not what we do. Our cafeteria staff is paid out of the cafeteria fund. So
Okay.
I don't know what option 2 was, because it's not here anymore.
Option two is still on the red line version.
The red line version.
Yeah, we don't know.
So
Let's see,
the
what
board
page?
can still adopt this one using option two instead of option one.
Okay, where is that?
She wants
Keep
to read.
scrolling through the packet.
So,
Or
let
do
me,
a
let me get
control
there.
F for 3551.
Page 6.
There were only two options.
3523,
Okay.
it's gotta be,
Does option 2 say paid out of?
The cafeteria fund, yes.
Okay, then that's what it should be, is option 2.
So for 3551 for the board policy.
did you find it, or you're satisfied?
I'm happy if option 2 says paid out of the cafeteria fund, then
Let's
I'm
see,
It does have.
I believe you.
option one,
Just when I read over it, I remember that, saying, oh, yes, that'll.
see, I only see an option one, is that funny? Oh, it's stuffy in here, huh? No, it's stuffy.
I'm gonna start sweating. Sorry.
Okay, so I think that was our only change, it's gonna be option 2, we'll make that correction. Does anyone have any questions? Otherwise, may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve item 10.7, the CSBA Board Policies and Administrative Regulation Updates recommended June 2022 with the correction on item, or excuse me, Board Policy 3551, moving to option 2.
In a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, and roll call, please.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
President Paoli,
Yes.
and Trustee Makla,
Yes.
and the motion carries.
And 10.8 is the Alternative Education Revised 2022-23 School Plan for Student Achievement, SPSA School Site Plan.
Yes.
That's what they were,
So
school
the,
plans.
this plan was revised just to include the addition as a part of Big Picture Learning, as Connie and I were discussing. She would like to bring in someone to teach art for about 3 hours a week. And so that was added into the plan so that we can use CSI funding for that. and it won't have any impact on our general fund or any of their site level funds. And
So it requires us to bring it back as a
yes, so
revised.
you may see this plan as we move through the year come up as new needs come forward with that to try to expend as much of the CSI as we possibly can. So
Very good, thank you.
Excuse me.
Any questions or motion?
I'll move to approve 10.8, the revised 22-23 school plan for student achievement for Noyo, or excuse me, alternative ed.
I'll second.
Very good, and roll call, please.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
President Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Makala,
Yes.
and the motion carries.
And our last item on action is the California Interscholastic Federation 22-23 revised designation of CIF representative to league.
And so this is typically completed in the spring, and I'm sure that we did in the spring.
Yes.
But with the addition of Erin as the assistant principal, we need to add her in to be one of our designees or reps in CIF.
Very good. If there are no questions, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the CIF 22-23 revised designation of CIF representatives to league.
In a second?
I'll second.
And roll call, please.
Trustee Makala,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
President Paoli,
Yes.
and the motion carries.
And strange as it is, this is, I think, the first time we've never had anything under information and discussion. So we can't talk about anything other than what's on the agenda. So the next item on the agenda is board reports. So does anyone want to share some board activity?
I will, just that, along with other things, the Equity Network that Joe and Kathy and I are attending, it has been really good. The first one was excellent. I felt really good about it. I think we got a lot out of it. So, yeah, I think it's been a great thing to be involved in, and I know I'm looking forward to sharing with all of you when we have that chance of the things we're learning, so.
Yes, it's been a great time. So
Mhm.
thank you, Kathy and Mary, for taking that time.
Thank you.
It's a big investment. So
Well, it's been great.
4 Saturdays, yeah,
Yep.
that's 12 hours.
it is.
Yeah.
It's worth it. And, you know, we're on our computer at home, so. I have jammy pants on and slippers.
And then have you had MIG yet?
No,
No,
I'm on the
okay.
third one. I'll be doing the budget.
Okay.
I did the first one.
Okay.
So I've been doing a lot of stuff, and I am so excited to be back on campus and doing things, and seeing things around our district. So I went, the first thing I want to comment on, and I won't go through my whole list because it's actually pretty long, but I came up to the high school and watched Kelly Smith. I wanted to make sure that hearing all that we hear here for the reports, I really wanted to see what was happening with the teachers. So I spent, I don't know, a little over an hour, and I had 2 staff members come up to me and say, all the board needs to know is that she's amazing. And they said it in different ways, but that was very reassuring, that we are doing good things with that budget item. So I just wanted to share that with the board, that it's pretty impressive. Every staff member, and I've been to a lot of PD myself, being an educator for 15 years, and I think I can firmly say that every educator in the room was engaged. And I can't always say that I always saw that, even myself, in PD. So great job, Kelly, and all the people that work with her. And I did do MIG with Joe, second week of school, first week of school, I don't even know, sometime last month. But I do want to, and then we've done the equity cohort, and it's reminded me again that we need some workshop time, and I don't know how and when we're going to fit all that in, but especially if we start talking about the equity and things, I think we need to spend some time together talking about just why we're here and what we're doing. Reading Joe's article about, we need to understand what makes us come to these meetings and makes us do this work. So I think we've got to get that on the calendar, and I don't know when.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Totally agree.
It is only 8, so you have
Well,
more.
I mean, it was,
Just top hot
I was
topics.
I was at Kelly Smith, and then I stayed and, helped with the district luncheon. They ate all the food, they were very happy. Again, feed them and they will come. So I was at the high school fair. It's just good to see kids happy and back and see their faces. And I went and saw, I guess it wasn't the Link thing at the middle school, but I happened to be on campus delivering something, a thank you to a teacher, and the leadership kids had set up a bunch of games in the, so Laura took me outside and I got to see the kids out eating and playing the big Connect 4 and Jenga and all these things. I got to do kinder pickup for 3 days with my niece. Oh, they're so cute. My boys are grumpy, moody teenagers, but they're so cute, and they come out and they're just so happy to see, and their teachers are happy. Anyway, it was wonderful. And I went to the middle school open house. People kept saying, "Why are you here?" And I said, "Well, this is my site." And but again, I want to thank, and they're not here, I guess I should have said it, but I really enjoy getting the reports every meeting. You know, last month it was all ed, tonight was the high school, because there are really good things happening on the sites, and I just appreciate the time that they're giving to come and do that and put it together, because that's why people do this work. So,
I did
Thank
want
you.
to add one thing too. I went to the ELAC, DLAC. Joe was there. Oh my gosh. How many people were there? It was huge.
Was it in person?
No, it was
Was it
online,
virtual?
but we had,
Great.
I think
I think-
staff and parents combined was 22 or 23.
yeah.
Wow.
I think.
Yeah,
so.
normally-
But you, and
Awesome.
they
That's
combine them now, right? So the
They did.
district
Cool.
and the
They did.
sites are all,
Yes.
which I thought was a great idea. They talked about that at middle school open house. But
Yes, and our parents
That's
seem
great.
to really prefer
Appreciate
that,
that.
and say that that's the format they want to stick with for the year. So that's
Yeah.
pretty exciting.
Instead of
very
having it
engaged.
at site level, like then there's just one
having
meeting.
DLACs and
Right,
then
yes.
having
DLAC,
the DLAC
right.
separate.
Gotcha.
So we just did breakout rooms within the virtual meeting for the
Mhm.
ELACs. So each site had some time with their parents and then
Oh,
came
smart.
back together.
It was really great.
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is great.
Smart. Work smarter, not harder.
Okay.
Good job.
Anyone else want to share?
I just attended the Three Rivers board meeting with Superintendent Aldridge, and other than visiting the chickens at the middle school garden area, that's about all I've done so far this month.
Awesome. And Scott,
Nothing to report?
nothing to report.
They have chickens at the middle school? How fun.
In the garden area, they have a
Yeah.
little roost towards the back end.
Oh, cool.
And what's neat, I mean, if you wrote that, is that the high school kids hatched all of them.
Mhm.
Then they built the ag mechanics class
Yes,
built
Travis,
um,
no need to go back there.
and then they hauled it over and installed it. Anyway, it's,
Oh my
it's all a
gosh.
full, so the
Oh, that's
program's
so
feeding,
cool.
yeah, it's very
Full
exciting.
collaboration.
Love it.
But all the chickens at the high school died, so I'm glad
Oh.
the ones at the middle school are,
Oops.
something got in, you know.
Oh, no.
So the coop that the boys built in,
Uh-oh,
and they were boys, I'm not being stereotypical, but.
the students.
The students, that one was very secure.
Good.
Okay, I'll report
Well,
that
now
back.
we can build a new one.
So I wasn't able to commit to the 4 meetings for the equity, and so they wanted to make sure that it was the same 2 people. But we are able to review and read the material, and so it is really good stuff. It's worth, I mean, the curb cut effect, I mean, it's just, you don't really realize that equality and equity, you think it's kind of the same thing when you just like think about it just randomly, but it is so different. And I just think that exactly we're doing the work and we need to take this slow and have that equity lens. It's just as simple as saying, that you have public busing for everyone, but certain neighborhoods don't have a direct bus route. Well, there's no equity in that. It's equitable. Everyone's got free busing or, busing. But if I just think it's what we need to be keeping in mind, because with equity, it may not affect you, but that's in our role. We have to make sure that we're looking out for everyone, not just because it doesn't affect me, it's not important. We need to look at it with an equitable equity lens. So I'm thankful that you're able to share that.
Well, they have this great visual of, you've all seen the one where the kids are standing trying to look over a fence, and the little short kid has a taller box, and then the middle-sized kid has, so that we all can look over. And then the end picture is, there's no fence.
Mm,
We don't need a fence.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah.
yeah,
it's
powerful.
really great.
But I did on August 18th, I think I forwarded everyone the CSBA collective bargaining webinar, and that was really mindful on why our roles are what they are, and then to be careful about getting too involved in that area firsthand, because it'll haunt you 5 years later or 10 years later, because that's how lawsuits come about. If you're there's just easy way to get entangled, and it's not valuable in the end result. So I think it's a good thing to watch or listen to remind you why our procedure is the way it is. It kind of gave me relief in some areas, thinking that I think that our process is probably, we can always work on some areas, but I think that definitely not getting more involved.
Definitely clarified roles.
Yes, and that body language, as they say, when you start reading this book that we'll all have read in January, body language, doesn't matter what you're saying, but about 77% is body language. So it doesn't matter all the good stuff you're saying, but if your body language isn't good,
And you raise an eyebrow and roll your
yeah,
eyes.
it's over. And then I did go to Redwood back to school. That was a tough evening because middle school was happening. I don't know how that happened, because we always try not to do that. And then I think it was Joe's birthday, and then we had volleyball. So I really hit most classrooms, but I didn't get one wing. And that was, families were super happy. And that was really fun to see everyone. And then Keenan's is completed. I think everyone hopefully has completed theirs.
I did.
And I've been doing a lot of volleyball driving, and that's always fascinating. And I'm super excited about the NFHS network, where you'll be able to purchase a membership so you can watch games at other schools. And I think the free entry has helped student fans. We just need to get food in those gyms. It's a place for them to be that's healthy, safe, and it's definitely for girls volleyball, 'cause that's our first gym sport that I've attended, and there's way more fans. So that's just letting you know that,
Awesome.
that
Thank you.
input. And then I just wanted to say in the CSBA California School News for August, they do have a whole section about equity walks. So I don't know if anyone gets this, but it's pretty interesting that we can start following, and we're doing the work by having our members, and we will have to try to do a workshop of some sort so that it's meaningful for everyone, because we should all have the same information as board members. So I don't know, that takes us through the board reports, and then we do always have 12.2 advanced planning suggestions for future meetings. And I just want to say that I have been watching other schools, how they handle hot topic items. And what always ends up coming up is watch yourself on the TV. That's the best way. It's super hard because I've done it. But that's one of the what we could do for professional development for ourselves is watch ourselves during a meeting. What do we need to improve on? And you can do it in your own time, and we don't have to critique anyone, but it's pretty powerful. And then if you could find a school that did reflection during their self-evaluation, that's really enlightening to know what their struggles are, how they're dealing with it. And I just want to thank everyone for being a very level-headed group, and that we're able to, with ease, talk about things, because not every board is that way. A couple meetings that I've watched, you could definitely tell folks don't see eye to eye, and they come from different walks of life, and it's just a really wonky process for them. And it's all about body language. So I'll open it up to advanced planning.
I'm wondering two things, if we can put the virtual board chat on so that we can talk about times and when's the best time to do it. I don't know if the split is the best.
Right, we probably cannot sustain the 2 times, and I've only gotten feedback that the after-school time or in between would be easier for folks, but doing the 2, we didn't have we had one staff member come at 3:30 today.
And then if we could talk about a workshop time, when we could possibly schedule that.
And maybe we could have Renee give us some suggestions, and we can do is it a doodle?
A doodle
A
poll?
doodle poll with the superintendent's calendar, and that would be on equity? Workshop?
Yes, equity, and we could do the governance handbook then too, maybe, or do you want to wait till January? We
Probably
should
wait till January
yeah.
for that.
And we'll have several, depending on when it is, the MIGs.
Right, that would actually, if we could do it at the end of, when is the last MIG?
It's in October, I think.
October.
Or no,
No,
November.
maybe
I think it's November.
Yeah, the
isn't it?
third one's in
Yeah.
October.
Yeah, Diana goes next week. I just looked
I'm
because I
on
was.
the last one.
November 9th.
So if we could do it after that,
Okay,
That
so
would
it'd have to
be-
be after.
I know we're in
Well,
the
or-
holidays then.
I hate to say it, but I don't know if we can if we could do a quality meeting with all of that on, I mean, if we did one on kind of
Oh, true. 'cause then they-
debriefing the
Equity.
equity and where we're gonna
'Cause
go with
that's
that, and then.
Policy, I mean, there's a
and
lot to
board,
it.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
And do
equity
a lot
statement,
to
and
it.
then we have,
Yes.
Mhm.
if we jigsaw out the MIGs. I mean, I just think that's a lot for us to talk about in
No,
a
it
day.
is, yeah.
Might be exhausting.
And the
mentally
equity really
and-
deserves a deep dive, so.
Yeah.
Because maybe the MIG could be attached to the self-evaluation and the governance handbook. If we did our homework ahead, be really ready to go.
Well, or if we wanted to do shorter ones, you know, and, break up MIG into maybe even two if we did, because we already did one, you're doing two next week. You know,
Yeah,
Even if we did that one halfway through.
or doing the self-evaluation during like a regular January meeting and then have another special or something.
Right. Because we have our 100-day in January-ish too, right? So that's all gotta,
Right.
It all kind of comes together.
Right, so then, and then the regular October meeting, we'll be looking at indicators for the superintendent evaluation, so that's coming up too. We'll have to put that in closed session. So I
and
think
so we have, I don't see it
an
on
agenda
here, but
setting
we
in
have-
October is Kathy.
We have a 5th, is that what it's on our
October,
calendar, right?
yeah,
The
October
special?
5th
Yes.
at 5
Okay.
o'clock. That's the earliest we can have it. And then we will, anyway, so anything else that comes up, because we don't want to get too crazy with extra discussion, but October 5th, I'm sorry, agenda setting, I think, is, I don't know if it was the 10th? No, the 10th?
It's Monday, the 10th.
The 10th. So if someone thinks of something else, you can email Joe. And figure out what the planning what
When's
is
when?
planning ahead
When is this special?
on other topics that have
October
come up,
5th.
because we do have a
Wednesday.
non-agenda items to discuss,
Mhm.
potentially, at our pace. So, and housekeeping, I don't think, I don't know if September 20th, you can go to Three Rivers meeting. Are those in person now?
They are. yes.
Okay,
I think
So
they
I-
do both. I think, aren't they doing hybrid?
They are. I don't know how well the
recording,
or
okay.
the online piece was working for them last time. It was kind of in and out. But
So
Yeah.
I might try going to that as well.
And yeah. I
Yeah,
can
so
go
which
to
is
that.
fine.
And I just looked, I think I'm October, and I have 3 appointments in Ukiah that day. I don't think I'll be back. If I could switch with somebody on the Three Rivers coverage.
Yeah, what day, what is their date?
It's the 18th,
18th?
but I have a 3
Yeah,
o'clock meeting
I
in
can do
Ukiah.
that.
I don't- Okay. Do you want me to go this month then? When's this month? Next week?
Actually, that would be great. Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, but
No.
I can make it to Avid night. I think that's Avid.
Oh, I can do it. It's fine.
No, it's at 7. Avid's at 7. Because they're pretty quick, right? If I remember from virtual anyway. Are they longer now that they're in person?
It's a little over an hour, wasn't
An
it?
hour.
yeah, I would say
Yeah,
it's right
they're-
about an hour.
They're
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Okay, I should be fine. I'll go, Mary.
Okay.
And then there's the Fort Bragg High School Parent Night, Dana Gray Parents Club Night,
I'll do that.
and I think everything else is covered.
When they say parent club night, we don't just mean parent club?
I'm not sure.
Okay. We'll ask tomorrow when we're at Dana Gray.
Yes. Dana Gray, Parent Club Night. Well, it could just, I'm sure it's just a meeting.
Mhm.
Sounds more fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've come to the adjournment of our meeting. May I have a motion
Motion to adjourn.
and a second?
I'll second.
And all in favor?
Yes.